What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down this 6-game or 8-game slate, depending on which site you're playing on. FanDuel and DraftKings, we've got two different locks tonight. Not wanting to make it easy on us and just have the same lock time. So we're here to break it down, though. Going to be giving you guys the top place to get you win some money, of course, as always, over here on DraftKings and FanDuel, breaking it down. If you enjoy this content, would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload, and don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, fan favorite segment on the channel. The guy that I'm picking to go deep, we do have a Coors Field game on this slate in Colorado. Just keep in mind, I am not allowed to pick a home run call in Colorado just because of the elevation. The hitting environment's the best hitting environment in baseball. It's kind of cheating to be doing that, so it won't be from Colorado. Of course, there's always going to be good hitters in Colorado and lots of guys that are good candidates for home runs, but we're not allowed to do that on the channel. Got to make it a little bit of a challenge. If you're going to be very serious about MLB DFS, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium packages. I do offer them over here at patreon.com/KJK_DFS. I do offer Prize Picks and a DraftKings FanDuel MLB package as well as NBA packages for both. And if you want to get access to both, if you play DraftKings, FanDuel, and Prize Picks, you can get the combo package for either package. And you'll get access to both at a discount. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Let's go into pitching first, as always. Figure out the top pitchers on the slate that we want to play today, and then we'll break down the bats on the latter half of the video. And the top guy on the slate for K rate over the last couple years is Luis Severino. Keep in mind, it's been out for an extended period of time, so we are dealing with a limited sample size here, but he has a 35.7% K rate overall over a 21 innings pitched sample size the last 2 years, 39.5% K rate to righties, and a 31.7% K rate to lefties. Definitely a very solid pitcher in Severino. The problem is he's taking on a Toronto Blue Jays squad tonight that is very good up and down. They really don't strike out all that much. I know Vladdy Jr. had to leave the game after hitting 3 home runs last night with a finger injury. I saw that notification. So maybe he's out of the lineup tonight, which would obviously help the case for Severino extremely. He is 7-9 on FanDuel. Tonight on DraftKings, they've got him priced at 7-4. As far as his pitch count, last time out, he was able to go 65 pitches, so expect that to ramp up into the 70s at least. Get a little bit more leeway as far as his pitch count's concerned. So if you want to go to some Luis Severino in your tournaments, I don't hate it. Just keep in mind, the matchup is really less than ideal. Maybe we get no Vladdy Jr. in there. Maybe we get a watered-down lineup, and then things change. So keep your eyes on that. But as it stands right now, Severino, a high-risk, high-reward option, but there's definitely some guys with some better matchups. And one of those guys is Shohei Ohtani, taking on the Texas Rangers. He comes in with a 29.6% K rate overall, 12.7% swinging strike rate, a 33.9% K rate to righties, and a 25.3% K rate to lefties. So he is much more dominant against those right-handed hitters. So if at all possible, we do prefer to target him against right-handed heavy lineups. And when looking at the matchup he gets to take on tonight in Texas, you can see up and down their lineup, they do feature quite a few lefties. But they also do have quite a bit of strikeouts in this lineup. And a guy that does have some high strikeout side, it is encouraging to maybe want to target him specifically through the heart of the order. They have added some low strikeout guys with Semien and Seager, so their K rate has gone down. But then when you look at guys like Mitch Garver, Nate Lowe, Avisail Garcia, Cole Calhoun, all with a 22+% K rate here in the 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. So there are some strikeouts to be had. There's a big pricing discrepancy on Ohtani, though. He's all the way up to 10-8 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they've got him priced much friendlier, all the way down to 7-9. So I definitely prefer him on DraftKings. FanDuel, you're paying way up. Maybe if you're going with a cheap stack and you can get up to him, I don't hate it, but definitely having to pay a lot for him on FanDuel. Charlie Martin taking on the San Diego Padres at 29% K rate overall. Great ground ball, fly ball stuff with a 12.5% swinging strike rate, a 25.4% K rate to righties, and a 32.7% K rate to lefties. A rare case of a righty that actually does strike out more left-handed batters, so we don't mind seeing quite a few lefties against him. And he's taking on a San Diego Padres team tonight in San Diego, which is a pretty nice pitching ballpark. The best pitching ballpark we've discussed so far are the pitchers we've gone over. In Petco Park, you can see a lot of red, a lot of yellow going on here in San Diego for those hitters, which never hurts our feelings. It does get a nice ballpark upgrade from Atlanta. Atlanta, not the worst pitching environment either, but never hurts our feelings to get an upgrade in the pitching environment. He is a 109 line with a 3.75 implied team total for both teams. As far as the matchup against San Diego, less than ideal, but the talent could definitely outweigh the matchup. I mean, Charlie Morton's that good. They just really don't strike out outside of Luke Voigt and Will Myers. But other than that, they have a really low strikeout rate, so that's less than ideal. But I mean, that's been the case with a lot of guys we talked about. And Morton has some of the best stuff out of anyone we've talked about so far, so definitely viable. Kevin Gausman taking on the New York Yankees, a matchup with a lot of power, so it's a little scary, but a lot of strikeouts in that lineup as well. He has a 28.5% K rate overall, top on the slate in his swinging strike rate with a 15.2% swinging strike rate, so that is fantastic. He has a 27.9% K rate to righties, a 29.1% K rate to lefties. has been really, really good. And like I said, obviously it's a little bit of a scary matchup taking on a New York Yankees squad tonight that does feature a lot of power. But they do feature a lot of strikeouts, man, with some of these guys. I mean, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks, Kyle Higashioka, they all have their fair share of strikeouts. They've added some low strikeout guys at the top now with Rizzo, Donaldson being in there. DJ LeMahieu, of course, is a low strikeout guy as well. So a little bit better in the strikeout category, getting rid of some bats like a Gary Sanchez. But there's also 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out the straightaway center in the Bronx. That's obviously less than ideal. And 78% humidity, very humid. So, but Gausman's just been really good, man. He does have the highest swinging strike rate on the slate. He does get to take on a team that does have some sluggers that do strike out at a high rate. So if you want to go to Gausman in your tournament lineups, I certainly do not hate it. Walker Buehler taking on Cincinnati. Looks like he might be the favorite option tonight. Second turnaround through the rotation. He's in L.A., which is a good pitching environment in Dodger Stadium. He's also the biggest favorite on the slate. He's a 267 favorite, so Vegas really likes him to pick up the win here. Of course, that never really hurts our feelings. He's 10-5 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they've got him priced at 9.7, so one of the top price guys on the slate, but for good reason. Guy's got really good numbers, really good ground ball, fly ball stuff. He's a 27.5% K rate, a 28.4% K rate to righties, and a 26.8% K rate to lefties. When you're looking at the Cincinnati lineup up and down as far as their strikeout rate, there are plenty of strikeouts to be had throughout this order. Pretty much everyone in the lineup is at a 20+% clip, outside of Nick Senzel in the 6th spot. But everyone else, I mean, there's plenty of strikeouts to be had. So I do think Walker Buehler, really, really good option. Probably our favorite option as far as, pitching deep into the game, getting a lot of strikeouts, getting the win, kind of checking all the boxes of what we're looking for out of our daily fantasy sports pitchers. And he did throw 78 pitches last time out, so we expect him to ramp that up, obviously, into the 80s this time around, which will be nice. So Walker Buehler does look very, very good. Joe Nadone taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, honestly, but I'll have to listen in next time I'm watching, maybe tonight when I'm watching this Pittsburgh game. This game's only going to be featured on the FanDuel slate, but he does have a 26.1% K rate overall. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff. 31.8% K rate to righties. Keep in mind, this is a very limited sample size. We're talking about a 9 innings pitch sample size. But I like to rely on Vegas when we're dealing with a limited sample size. And Vegas does only have the Pirates, with a 4.69 implied total. The Pirates are not a good lineup up and down. They are definitely a team that we could be targeting. They have a ton of strikeouts. Really, the only two low strikeout guys in this order are Brian Reynolds in the 2 spot. And then you have another low strikeout guy in the 6th spot, in Kevin Newman. But outside of that, these guys are all high strikeout individuals. It's in Pittsburgh, PNC, which is a great pitching environment. Definitely a pitching environment upgrade going from Washington to Pittsburgh for Mr. Adone. See a lot of red, a lot of yellow going on out there. A lot of red across the board for PNC. So I don't mind targeting this park whatsoever. 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the left, it looks like, so that's a little bit less than ideal. But, I mean, I do think that there's some strikeout upside to be had. Once again, these guys are only featured on FanDuel in this game, and they're cheap. They're in a good pitching environment. I don't hate it. I do not hate it if you want to go to Adone in your tournament lineups. If you're trying to pay up for some elite bats. Joe Musgrove taking on Atlanta is a guy that might come in at lower ownership than he should. Taking on an Atlanta Braves squad that has a lot of talent, but they do have a decent amount of strikeouts as well. A 25.6% K rate overall for him with a 27.1% K rate to righties. A 24.1% K rate to lefties, so do prefer to target him against right-handed heavy lineups if at all possible, and the Atlanta Braves will definitely supply him with that for the most part. Alex Dickerson, Eddie Rosario, Matt Olson being the lefties, and then Ozzie Albies is a switch hitter. So I guess it is pretty balanced, but throughout he's going to be taking on quite a few righties. We talked about the good pitching environment in San Diego. Musgrove just has really good stuff, similar to Charlie Morton, but the thing is the Braves do strike out more than the Padres. So I'm always looking for that strikeout upside. Atlanta definitely supplies it, especially at the bottom of their lineup. Swanson, Dickerson, Darno, and Duvall, these last 4 guys. Lots of strikeouts to be had between them. So I do think that Musgrove is pretty appealing. Then we get into some not so fun stuff, I'd say. I mean, Justin Steele in Colorado, really not fun to be targeting. He does do a fantastic job of keeping the ball on the ground. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff, good hard contact stuff. Still gives up a 471 slugging to those righties, but still, it's a lot of reduced hard contact and a lot of ground balls. JT Brubaker taking on Washington. Pretty average across the board, but once again, a good pitching environment in Pittsburgh and a really cheap guy on FanDuel. So if you want to go down, I just think that you could. I mean, he's only 6'3". He's a 128 favorite. The Nationals only have a 4.31 implied team total. Looking at their lineup up and down as far as how they fare in the strikeout category, they really don't strike out much is the only problem. pretty good job of not striking out through the heart of this order. Really, the only guys that strike out a lot are at the bottom, and we have a little bit of a limited sample size with them. So, but once again, it's PNC. He's a 128 favorite. He's really cheap. He gives you access to those top-tier bats, so don't hate it. Dane Dunning, I think, is a guy that I'm going to be high on. I think I'm going to be high on targeting these LA Angels throughout the entire season. They've just been striking out a ton. We saw Jesus Luzardo go out there and just absolutely dominate against them the last time out, and I don't think that was necessarily a direct reflection of Luzardo's stuff. I mean, Luzardo, I think, has made some improvements over the season. There was a lot of talk about him making some improvements on his stuff, but I think a lot of it has to do with the LA Angels, man. They have a lot of strikeouts throughout this order. Dunning has a 22.6% K rate overall with a 22.9% K rate to righties, a 22.3% K rate to lefties. Kind of average K stuff across the board, but then when you factor in the LA Angels lineup and you look at their strikeout rates, I mean, there's a lot of strikeouts, man. All the way throughout this order. I mean, the low strikeout guys are looking at are Anthony Rendon. Even, I mean, the rest of the guys all strike out at a pretty high clip. Even Trout does strike out at a pretty high clip. Then once you get down past Trout, Wade, Stassi, Rojas, Jack Mayfield, Jared Walsh, there isn't a single guy that strikes out less than 23% of the time. So, I mean, and Trout strikes out 27% of the time, which people may not know. I mean, he's a fantastic hitter, but 27% K rate, you know, we can deal with that. There's some strikeouts to be had in his bat as well. So I think Dane Dunning is actually a really good candidate to have a good game tonight. Kyle Gibson and Sandy Alcantara are both in the Miami environment, which is one of the best pitching environments, if not the best in pitching environment in baseball. So I always love targeting Miami when it comes to pitchers. You can see a lot of red in Marlins Park. The ball just dies here, man. It does not like to take flight. In this dome in Miami, man, it just does not like to take flight. This game only has an 8 implied total, a 4.14 implied total for the Marlins, a 3.86 implied total for the Philadelphia Phillies. That is not a coincidence. That is because this ballpark just really reduces offense in an extreme manner here. This game is only featured on the FanDuel slate, but Philly has a lot of strikeouts. Miami has a lot of strikeouts. These guys kind of do have below average strikeout stuff. Both of them do fare a lot better against righties. They're kind of identical almost in their numbers as we're looking across the board here. The strikeout rate dips all the way down to 18 and 19% against lefties. The strikeout rate's all the way up to 24 and 23% against righties. But they're just really in a good pitching environment, so that automatically is going to make them candidates to be playing tonight. I mean, that's just facts. I mean, Miami's just, you know, really, really good place to be targeting. So if you end up with the salary to put one of them in your lineups and they fit, like, great. I don't see why not. You know, that's really what it comes down to. The LA Dodgers are faced with an opener and a long reliever. So Reaver San Martin, we've only seen him pitch 14 innings. Gave up a lot of hard contact to righties, not so much against lefties. He has taken on an LA Dodgers squad that's really, really good. The only thing I would say is he is a long reliever. Maybe you get a little bit sneaky in your tournaments. And you get a low-owned long reliever that maybe goes out there and pitches some decent innings, and he's cheap and low-owned. I mean, he's 5.7 on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I believe he's all the way up to like 9K. Can't play that on DraftKings. Do not play that on DraftKings. But on FanDuel, if you want to punt with a long reliever, get different in your lineups. If you really like some premier bats on FanDuel, you know, you could do worse things. It's kind of tough because you only get one pitcher on FanDuel. So you typically really want to capitalize on your pitcher. But then we have Casey Mize taking on the Kansas City Royals, which is another high strikeout upside matchup. If you would like to go to him against the Kansas City Royals, I think you could do worse on this slate. He's a top prospect. He's supposed to have really good stuff, and he's been very underwhelming. Very underwhelming, and he is just dreadful against left-handed hitting as well. But the good news is that when looking up and down the Kansas City Royals lineup, they don't have the strongest of left-handed hitters. They have a solid one in Alberto Mondi, solid one in Carl Santana, Andrew Benintendi, but other than that, I mean, it's not like we're dealing with any, you know, like Freddie Freeman's or Yordan Alvarez's of the world kind of thing that we're really, really scared about there. So that's my breakdown on pitching. Of course, I've got to talk about hitting as well, so let's transition over to that. As always, I like to go ahead and sort by sheet by Sierra. Skill interactive ERA, it's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the last couple of years and how good they're projected to be in the future. And the worst guy on the slate today is going to be Kyle Freeland, taking on the Chicago Cubbies in Coors Field. He has a 4.81 Sierra. Has done a good job of keeping the ball on the ground for the most part. It's just he doesn't strike anyone out, doesn't really get any strikeouts, doesn't get any swinging strikes. He gives up a 5.04 slugging to righties, even though the ground ball, fly ball stuff isn't the worst. And it's Coors Field, so that's a problem. I mean, you don't strike anyone out. It's Coors Field, a field that lets the ball carry the most, that lets the ball fall and play the most. Huge outfield, easy for home runs. And it reduces strikeouts on top of his already low strikeout rate. So the Chicago Cubbies do have a 5.26 implied total. It's only 55 degrees with winds blowing from left to right, 14 miles an hour. So there's not really much help with the wind. There's not really much help with the weather, but there is help with the ballpark. I mean, Colorado's a fantastic hitting environment. So targeting the power righties against Freeland is obviously a viable option tonight. Clint Frazier, Wilson Contreras, Patrick Wisdom, Frank Schwindel, Seiya Suzuki, the new rookie with a lot of pop in Coors Field should be fun. Haven't had a slate where I've had an opportunity to play him yet. Personally, myself, I haven't played on a slate with him on it, so I'm kind of excited for that. But I mean, this lineup's designed to hit left-handed pitching very, very well. Contreras, Frazier, Wisdom, Schwindel, Suzuki, Madrigal, Hermoso. All these guys hit lefties very, very well. So, obviously, you know, they're going to be very appealing in Coors Field tonight and definitely a viable option. Second on the list, we have the long reliever taking on the LA Dodgers. As discussed earlier, we have a limited sample size, only a 14 innings pitched, but he is taking on the LA Dodgers. One of the worst matchups you could have, and the Dodgers do look somewhat appealing. I mean, only a 7 innings pitch sample size, but he's giving up a 469 slugging to righties, very effective against lefties, has to be kind of anticipated with a left-handed hurler. In general, you know, that will be the case. So the Dodgers righties do look pretty appealing, and they do get one go-around against Luis Cessa, so when breaking down his stuff, as far as he's concerned, you can see he gives up a 372 slugging to righties, a 413 slugging to lefties, so rounding out your stacks with the lefties, maybe they get to the opener and Cessa, and then you're able to round out your stacks with the righties to get the beneficial matchup in the long run with San Martin. But overall, the Dodgers are going to be a fantastic stack anytime they're on the slate. Obviously, there's 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing out the center field in Dodger Stadium tonight, 63 degrees. Dodger Stadium, less than ideal for home runs. But this is the LA Dodgers, man. They're pretty good at hitting home runs. Definitely does play a little bit more friendly down the right field line. But I mean, left field's pretty neutral as well. The data's actually a little bit conflicting here for the most part. But I'd say it's pretty neutral. It does play a little bit friendlier to home runs down the right field line is the final consensus. It's above average. But overall, really, you're just looking to stack up the Dodgers. They're just that good. You have Will Smith, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, Cody Bellinger at the bottom of the lineup. That's a really solid bottom of the lineup with obviously the main studs. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Max Muncy. Always going to be a viable candidate to stack. Dodgers are just that good. Royals taking on Casey Mize. If you watched my content last year, this one's real easy. Don't play the righties against them and play all the lefties against them. A 544 slugging, giving them up a 45% hard contact percentage, only an 18.5% K rate against those lefties. He's terrible against lefties. He's been terrible since he came in the league. The Royals lefties are going to be viable candidates tonight. With a 4.44 implied run total, Andrew Benintendi, Carlos Santana, Adalberto Mondesi, and Nicky Lopez. All going to be fantastic candidates. It does look like there's 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center, which doesn't hurt our feelings. In Kansas City, not the best home run ballpark, but the outfield does play very large. Let's see if we can pull up the diagram here. In Kansas City Kauffman Stadium, the outfield is nice to have some balls drop in. Just not ideal for home runs, but I mean, if we can rack up some doubles, multiple hits, some RBIs out of those lefties, maybe at a cheap price tag, that won't hurt our feelings. Jonah Doan taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates so far has been really bad against lefties, has been really good against righties. We're only dealing with a 9 innings pitch sample size, but that's kind of the story so far. On him, once again, 9 innings pitch sample size. The Pirates have a 4.69 implied total. That's actually a pretty decent total on this slate. When you're looking at the other totals, you know, that's higher than the majority of all the totals. That's the highest total outside of the Dodgers, the Cubs, and Rockies. So that's worth taking note on. The Pittsburgh Pirates aren't exactly the most elite offense in the world. In fact, that they have that implied run total is somewhat interesting. So maybe stacking these guys up, going with some power. Pittsburgh, once again, not the best hitting environment, but we do have a few guys in the lineup that can hit the ball out of anywhere. You know, Vogelback, Brian Reynolds has some power, Brian Hayes. The rest of the lineup, man, this is an ugly stack. It's an ugly stack, man, when you're looking at the peripherals and the ISO and the WOBA and the power of these guys. But, hey, what are you going to do? They got a 4.69 implied total. They got some young prospects with some promise in Cole Tucker. They got Ben Gamel, who's had his hot streaks in the past. Yoshi, Brian Hayes, Brian Reynolds, Vogelback at the top of the lineup. Ho Young Park at the bottom. There's a lot of steal upside, some speed. So you could do worse stacking them. You could also do worse playing Jonah Doan, like I said, I think, on FanDuel. But Sandy Alcantara taking on Philly. He's real simple, similar to Casey Mize. Good against righties, bad against lefties. So if you want to play some Philadelphia lefties, problem is they are in Miami, which is a bad hitting environment. Pulling up Miami. Already talked about it, but Not ideal for home runs, especially out, I mean, all over the place, man. It's just a terrible hitting environment. But the Phillies have some guys that are very good at hitting baseballs far from the left-handed side of the plate, in Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Diego Gregorius, Stott, and Vierling. I mean, Bryce Harper and Schwarber are obviously the ones that stand out the most there. And Kyle Gibson, the same can be said for him. We already went over it. Good against righties, bad against lefties. A 438 slugging, giving up those lefties, only an 18.5% K rate. So, once again, the Miami lefties do look like the play here. Jesus Sanchez has a lot of power, so I do think he's interesting. Joey Wendell, Jazz Chisholm has some power, some speed. So I do think Jesus Sanchez is pretty interesting, man. I think this guy's shown some serious pop in his bat. So low owned in a Miami environment, that's less than ideal, but like I said, low owned. Justin Steele taking on Colorado. We talked about it. Colorado's lineup up and down designed pretty well to hit left-handed pitching. So is the Cubbies lineup, and there's two lefties in this game environment. So going to the Colorado Rockies is certainly a viable option in Coors Field tonight, obviously. Connor Joe, Chris Bryant, C.J. Cron, Brendan Rodgers, Randall Grichuk, Elias Diaz, Jose Iglesias, Garrett Hampson all have good left-handed splits. Obviously, the core of the lineup is the best as far as, Rodgers, C.J. Cron, Chris Bryant, and C.J. Cron in the 3 and 4 spot would be my favorites. It's in the middle of the heart of the lineup. They crush left-handed pitching. Just kind of makes sense. It's a fantastic environment, obviously. I mean, I think that my guess is that Coors Field is going to be massively owned on the slate, which should it be? Probably. But game theory-wise, you might want to go elsewhere. It's going to be tough. But Dane Dunning taking on the LA Angels is a guy that does struggle more so against lefties than righties. Taking on these LA Angels. So if you want to go with some one-offs, maybe in an Ohtani, maybe in a Jared Walsh, Brandon Marsh, Jose Rojas, Tyler Wade. Don't hate it. Like I said, I do think I kind of like Dane Dunning tonight, though. It is a ballpark upgrade for the LA Angels, though, going into Texas, which is a really great hitting environment as well. So if you want to load up the Angels, maybe not. I mean, this is where, my research throughout the day, my pitch data, the weather data, and all that stuff, it's going to kind of give me my positives and my negatives. I'm going to have more of an idea of my premium content members. You'll see it reflected on my cheat sheet and power rankings and my core plays. But they do 4.56 implied total. I just think that Dane Dunning does look pretty good. The LA Angels are striking out a ton, man. So, Brubaker, pretty split to neutral. Does give up quite a bit of hard contact to both sides, though. 450 plus slugging to both sides here for him. Taking on a Washington squad that is not exactly the deepest of lineups, but they do have some power through the 2, 3, 4 spot. I mean, that's the favorite stack of Washington. It's the Soto, Cruz, Bell, Cruz. Josh Bell returning to Pittsburgh. He always hit the ball very far there. Maybe he's, the home confines, returning back, treats him well. Zach Greinke taking on Detroit. It's a guy that really just doesn't strike anyone out. He has been giving up a lot more hard contact to righties over the last couple of years, of 452 slugging. Lefties, he's actually been a lot better, ironically. So I do think that targeting the Detroit righties is a viable option tonight. Maybe get them low owned. And a Victor Reyes, which are actually Austin Meadows is lefties. So they actually have quite a few lefties in this lineup now. A little bit of a different look than last year. Javi Baez, Miguel Cabrera, Jonathan Scope, Spencer Torkelson, the young prospect. I had him on my cheat sheets the other day. He hit a bomb, so that was nice. Those are the guys I'll be looking to target against Greinke. Really the right-handed power, and that's about it, man. Things don't get as interesting once you get down here. I mean, Musgrove, Ohtani are both worse against lefties. Severino, if you want to stack up the Blue Jays, just because the Blue Jays are good. But, I mean, these guys are obviously less than ideal to be targeting. The Atlanta lefties, the Texas lefties, I guess it will be what I leave you with if you want to target them. But that is my overall breakdown of this slate today, guys. Before I let you guys go, of course, I got to give you my home run call of the day. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload, and check out the premium content packages if you are getting very serious. Patreon.com/KJK_DFS. That's the link below in the description. And this video is brought to you by PrizePicks. Use that promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100 today. And without further ado, home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Jared Walsh taking on Dane Dunning in Texas here. A great hitting environment, a ballpark upgrade for him, and a guy that does struggle more so against lefties than right-handed hitters. think we can capitalize on it tonight. Looking at Dane Dunning's numbers across the board, he gives up a 420 slugging with a 38.4% hard contact rate to lefties with a 35.1% fly ball rate. Strikeout rate does dip down as well from a 22.9% clip to a 22.3% clip. And then when you break down the repertoire, he is very reliant on the sinker changeup combination, and Walsh crushes both of those pitches. Against the sinker off right-handed pitching, he features a 356 ISO with a 465 WOBA, 51.43% hard contact rate, and against the changeup, he crushes as well. A 345 ISO with a 410 WOBA. Love this spot for Jared Walsh. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there we go, guys, Jared Walsh, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Check out the premium content packages, check out the merch store, check out all the other links down below in the description, and sign up for Prize Picks today using that promo code KJK DFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100. Wishing you guys all the best of luck, and we will see you in the next one.